Hey, it's Ken Barrett Laundromat How To. Working on another dryer today. Had a bunch of noise coming out of this particular dryer. I'll put a little clip in here just in a little bit, just for a few seconds, to show you the sound that this particular motor was making. And what we found once we got it out is, if I can wiggle it here, look down there and get a good shot. Moving around. Basically what we got is the bearings are gone, and so we got all that trash and stuff down in there, but the belt pulls on this shaft, and if you have a problem with the bearing, it just wears out. So that motor sits spun around the other way, bolts into this spot here and that spot back there, and pivots on that, and then you use this bolt here to pull it down and tighten it up against the belt. So it's a little bit of a tough spot to get into, and you kind of reach over and that bolt comes up through this bracket here, and then how much you tighten that up tensions up your belt enough. So right now this motor is hot, like I got burned my arm hot, so of course I didn't let it cool down, I just jumped right into work on it. So we'll take that back over to the motor shop and see if they can change that bearing out and maybe blow it out, and hopefully it'll be okay and it'll be a fairly simple repair. But this dryer here, it's a little different setup. It's more totally enclosed. The one belt is on the drum, and then you've got a separate motor for the fan. So the fan's a direct drive off of that motor. The drum is a belt drive off of this motor. So, but like I said, we'll go get this bearing checked out, see if we can get it repaired and get it back in. Okay, through the miracle of video, we've jumped ahead a little bit here. I took this motor to the repair shop, but his concern is it's probably already got worn into the windings a little bit, and with all the extra connections on here, it was going to be, once it got repaired, testing it was going to be pretty tough. So he opted out of it. That particular shop didn't want to deal with it, and I didn't want to wait around and spend too much time just trying to find another one. So I got another one ordered up, and it arrived. First thing you want to do whenever you get something like this is, you just want to check and make sure your parts are all right, the right model number, it's got the right RPMs and voltage, etc. Check that on both of them, make sure we're okay. And then we've got to come swap some parts from them, so we're going to have to pull off this belt drive on the end. We're going to have to pull off the bracket on the bottom. Small bracket's already on there, so we just got to get the big one off. And then looks like our ground wire is already hooked up. One thing before you pull the belt part off, you just want to, it's because the belt runs on the drum, it's not, the alignment doesn't need to be exact as it was, but it's always a good habit to just measure where it is on this motor and then measure it the same on this one. A couple of spots you can do it from, either right from the front there, or you can get in and measure the distance back that the shaft is inside, and that'll just make sure that you're lined pretty well and you don't get it all in there and then find out that your alignment's not quite right. But again, because the belt runs around the drum and it's not onto another pulley, there's quite a bit of room there, but if you're over a little bit, you may end up rubbing on something and wearing out the belt prematurely. So I'll get these parts swapped over on here, and again, I'll double check, make sure all the numbers work on the motors and we've got the exact replacement. And then we'll get it put back in, and we'll have to bring the motor over to a motor shop to get the pulley off the end. It heated up so much that I guess there was like a residue or maybe a Loctite they'd used on it. So I brought it over here, we heated it up and got that off. You can see in the ends here where the bearings had worn in. You see a little ridge back in there. And there's play on both ends, and the inside of the motor is all worn. So almost back. Here we are back again. So got the base bolted back in. There's a bolt there, there's one at the other end. Got the back in here. Got the belt back on. What you want to do before you tighten it up is just manually rotate that belt a few times, make sure it's aligned before you put any pressure on it. And then, as you remember, we got the tightening bolt down here. Normally there's a spring or some sort of flexible tension on there. This one just got the bolt, so it's need to check with the manufacturer's recommendations for getting your belt tight. You don't want it too tight too tight, you're going to pull on the bearings, put too much load on them. If it's too loose, with a heavy load, you're just not going to turn the drum, and then you just you'll burn up your belt. And changing the belt, it's not going to be a good time. So, make sure that's snug enough. We're going to test it out here in a few minutes. Get the wiring connected back up. And that's pretty much it. There's really not a lot of tools involved aside from we got in the motor stuff. Putting it back in, and just had a small 1/2-inch socket. And your Allen keys, you need those to tighten up these supports here. And again, they're a little shoulder bolt, so it tightens up, but it keeps that base moving around. And then the Allen key on the shaft, as I showed in that previous part of the video, I think it just got so hot that it had heated itself right up onto the shaft with some of the coating they had put on initially. So took it over to the motor shop, he heated it up, popped it off, pulled the motor apart and saw that it was all tore up. Something we knew anyways, but so we take a look. And then put it on the new motor here, and it's back in. So if you got the spare parts, the whole job's just a few minutes. But if you do run into stuff like that, where again we got to wait for the motor and got to go over and get that pulley pulled off the end. We're going to fire it up now and we'll be all set. So we're in and running here now. Okay. A bit of noise coming off of that. And if I get an angle where you can see it. The motor is still kind of undulating a little bit, so just check that out. Maybe I'll give the manufacturer a call and just talk to them, or actually talk to a couple other car guys and I'll just see if that's something that's out of the ordinary. We'll run one of these other dryers and check it. Seems to be pretty good there now, so it may just be we're not quite tight enough on that belt. Don't want to run in the same situation we had before and have to put a new motor in. But something we'll keep an eye on in the next few days and listen in on it and make sure we're good. But there you go, that's all there is to it. We'll get this one back up and running.